Welcome back to the Deep Dive. So you've come to us with a pretty critical mission, really.
That's right.
We need to cut through all the noise around modern manufacturing and supply chain management.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, we're focusing on how global operations handle these huge, synchronized, seasonal demand spikes.
And there's no better stress test for that than October, right?
Exactly. We're using the massive pressure cooker that is Halloween, the candy, costumes, decorations, as our ultimate proving ground today.
It's a perfect example. These seasonal surges, they're predictable in when they happen, sure.
Right.
But they act like these incredibly powerful spotlights. They just instantly light up every single existing underlying structural weakness in the supply chain.
Okay.
And critically, those weaknesses, they're being amplified right now by global volatility that's really pushing stability almost to the breaking point.
Yeah, we've pulled together a stack of really interesting sources for this.
Good stuff.
Yeah, they mix the metaphorical, talking about things like phantom delays and the sheer cost of zombie inventory. Yes.
The classics.
Right. But also the acutely real stuff, like global tin and copper shortages, sudden regulatory shifts that just pop up.
Things you can really measure the impact of.
Yeah.
Precisely. So our mission is clear. Let's identify the core challenges facing manufacturers right now. And then let's zero in on the high-tech planning solutions needed to actually conquer these peak demand periods. Okay, let's unpack this. All right, let's start by maybe setting the scene, establishing the battlefield, so to speak.
I got the idea.
Manufacturers right now are grappling with what we've been calling the perfect storm of October 2025.
Okay.
It's this confluence of risks that just dramatically increases complexity for every single planner out there.
And it's not just the sheer volume of the holiday rush itself, is it?
No, not at all.
We're seeing intense material volatility. Our sources show it's changing the profit calculation almost, minute by minute, it feels like.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sources highlight specific raw materials causing widespread headaches.
Yeah, things like tin and copper seem to be major pain points right now. Massive price swings, instability.
Exactly. And think about why that matters for something like Halloween. If you're making anything from, say, circuit boards for those animatronic ghouls in the yard.
Right. Lots of copper and tin in those.
Heavy reliance, yeah. Or even specialized protective packaging. That volatility hits your bottom line instantly.
How so? Give us an example.
Well, imagine you placed a fixed price order 6 months ago for materials.
Okay.
Then suddenly there's a 20% spike in tin prices just a week before production starts. That order might suddenly become unprofitable.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you're forced into this desperate scramble for alternative sources or maybe trying to renegotiate, which is tough.
So that volatility alone is a huge headache. But then you pile on the external risks, making reliable scheduling almost, impossible.
It feels that way sometimes. We're talking about persistent climate risks, for one. They keep disrupting logistics flows globally.
Uh-huh. Like storms and things.
Yeah, extreme weather damaging infrastructure ports, rail lines, or even just sudden shifts in regional crop yields affecting raw materials.
And you mentioned the human element earlier, too.
Right. You absolutely can't ignore that. We're still seeing the lingering and often quite unforeseen impact of labor strikes.
Hitting key logistics points.
Exactly. Critical nodes, manufacturing stability itself. This just turns reliable transit planning, knowing exactly when your container of, say, costume fabric arrives from Asia into an absolute nightmare.
So the planned lead time is suddenly just a suggestion.
Pretty much. It's aspirational at best sometimes.
And as if planners didn't have enough on their plates, there's this growing regulatory burden.
Oh, yes.
Sources are really highlighting significant supply chain sustainability pressure.
Yeah.
And this isn't abstract, is it?
No, not at all. This is driven by really aggressive compliance demands coming out of major markets. Think the EU, and increasingly places in Asia, too.
What kind of demands are we talking about? What are they asking manufacturers to track?
Well, that's what's fascinating. It's getting really granular. Compliance demands are forcing tracking of Scope 3 emissions.
Which are the emissions from your suppliers and their suppliers, right?
Precisely. Or verifying against forced labor inputs deep in the supply chain. This requires complete, totally auditable material provenance.
Wow. That adds layers of intense, non-negotiable complexity to vendor auditing.
Absolutely. And it has to be baked into the planning process months, maybe even years in advance. You can't fake that data. Okay, so all this pressure, the material costs, the climate risks, the strikes, the regulations, it all funnels down into our seasonal test. Halloween, the pressure cooker.
Yeah, these products, decorations, candy, costumes, they're super time sensitive, incredibly varied.
And the demand hits all at once.
Right? This massive synchronized demand surge just acts as the final stress test. Any little hiccup, a tin shortage, a port strike, a missing compliance doc.
It's amplified tenfold, especially when millions of consumers are simultaneously demanding their, chocolate bats and witch hats, and they want them now.
The whole system feels like it's almost built to fail when it's pushed this hard.
In many ways, without the right systems, it is.
So, okay, if I'm a manufacturer and I'm just struggling with all these relentless external pressures, how does that chaos actually show up? Like on my factory floor, in my warehouse? What are the common internal failures planners are seeing?
That's where we start seeing what our sources cleverly call the operational ghosts haunting the schedules.
Okay, operational ghosts. I like that.
Yeah, let's identify maybe the 3 big ones people report. First, you've got phantom delays.
Phantom delays. Tell me more.
These are those unexpected production stalls. They seem to come out of absolutely nowhere, haunting your manufacturing schedules, pushing back delivery dates.
Without a clear initial cause, like the machine didn't break down.
Not usually, no. That's the smicky part. The root cause is almost always misaligned dependencies in the schedule itself.
Okay. So like what?
It's like you run out of a specific subcomponent because its lead time was underestimated way back when. Or maybe the machine that performs the previous step in the process was overbooked.
So synchronization just failed.
Exactly. The line stops, and then you waste valuable time diagnosing a failure that, frankly, was baked due to the schedule weeks ago. It was predictable if you had the right tools.
Okay, that's phantom delays. What's next on the ghost tour?
Next up is the financial drain of zombie inventory.
Zombie inventory. Love it. This is dead stock, right?
Yep. The excess or obsolete inventory that just refuses to die. It just sits there on the shelf.
And it's not just sitting there harmlessly, is it?
Oh, definitely not. It's a massive resource drain. Zombie inventory consumes valuable working capital, warehouse space. Think about it.
Yeah.
You're paying insurance on it, maybe heating or cooling for the space, property taxes. Also that, obsolete witch hat material or excess packaging for a product line that got canceled.
You just collect dust until you finally write it off.
Precisely. It's inventory that probably had no business being ordered in the first place, usually because planners simply lacked visibility into future demand or maybe accurate material consumption rates.
Okay, phantom delays, zombie inventory. What's the third ghost?
The third one, and this seems particularly amplified by all the global volatility and regulatory pressure we discussed, is the rise of the ghost suppliers.
Ghost suppliers. Okay, so these aren't spectral vendors.
No, not quite. These are basically unreliable vendors or unforeseen gaps that suddenly appear in your upstream supply chain.
And they cause critical material shortages.
Exactly. Maybe they went under due to economic pressure, quietly disappeared. Or perhaps, and this is critical now, they simply cannot meet the new regulatory compliance demands.
Like for that verifiable provenance stuff.
Right. So the supplier you budgeted for, planned around, poof, they vanish. And your planned output effectively vanishes right along with them.
So we've got these delays haunting the schedule, dead stock eating up capital, and sources just disappearing. Let's connect the dots. Why does all this matter beyond just, a really bad week or a stressful October?
Well, fundamentally, it can be the difference between operational survival and, frankly, failure.
That's serious.
Absolutely. These failures, the phantoms, the zombies, the ghosts, they are directly responsible for missed delivery windows.
Which damages customer relationships, future orders?
Severely, and they lead to significantly reduced profitability. Because all that zombie inventory carrying cost, the downtime from phantom delays, the emergency freight and resourcing to cover for ghost suppliers.
It costs real measurable money.
Loads of it. It's clear that manufacturers have to fundamentally move beyond just reacting to crises as they happen.
Absolutely. Okay, so how do we manage the chaos then? Before we jump into the high-tech stuff, our sources did point out some key strategic, maybe non-technological trends, things manufacturers are using to build a more resilient foundation.
That's right. We're seeing 2 big foundational shifts happening. First, there's the strategic rise of nearshoring.
Bringing production closer to home, basically.
Yeah, closer to the final consumption market. The main goal there is reducing geopolitical risk and those long, complex logistics chains.
Okay, nearshoring. What's the second shift?
Second, and maybe even more crucial alongside nearshoring, is a significant increase in dual sourcing strategies.
Not putting all your eggs in one supplier basket.
Exactly.
No.
Let's maybe dedicate a moment to those because they aren't simple fixes. They require massive investment and planning.
Good point. What are the trade-offs involved in something like nearshoring? Sounds good, but
Well, it definitely can drastically reduce logistics risk. You're less exposed to, say, international port strikes or disruptions halfway across the world. But it almost always means higher initial capital investment to set up facilities and often higher labor costs compared to some traditional distant markets.
so manufacturers have to adjust their entire cost structure.
Completely. And this is really why dual sourcing becomes almost mandatory alongside it, or even instead of it sometimes.
How so?
It provides that crucial non-technological hedge. It protects you against a single geopolitical event knocking out your only source, or a ghost supplier suddenly going dark because they failed a compliance audit.
Okay, so these strategic shifts, nearshoring, dual sourcing, they lay the groundwork. But actually executing that, managing dual sourcing across different locations, handling different lead times, integrating new suppliers who have to meet really strict compliance demands.
Yeah, that requires perfect, almost real-time intelligence, doesn't it?
It sounds like it. And that intelligence, that visibility, that's where digitalization really comes into play.
Exactly. The solution is shifting. It's no longer primarily about reaction. It's moving towards prediction and proactive control.
Okay, now here's where it gets really interesting for our listeners, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Digitalization and effective scenario planning seem to be the true antidotes to this kind of systemic disruption.
They really are.
And our sources point directly, almost unanimously, to advanced planning and scheduling systems, APS, as the primary tool for manufacturers looking to gain that necessary control and visibility.
Yeah, APS systems are absolutely essential today because they move planning out of, say, static spreadsheets.
Which so many still use.
Yeah, too many. And it moves planning into dynamic modeling. It doesn't just count inventory like an ERP might. It models finite capacity constraints.
Finite capacity, what does that mean in practice?
It means that APS integrates real-time data from your ERP system, your manufacturing execution systems, your MES right on the shop floor. And it ensures that a scheduled job doesn't just need material X. It ensures the specific machine needed for that step, the specific required labor skill, and the material will all be available at that exact moment the schedule says they need to be.
Wow. That deep level of synchronization sounds like the ultimate defense against those phantom delays we talked about earlier.
It really is. You can't really have a surprise shortage or bottleneck if the system has already modeled the conflict weeks in advance.
Right.
And this capability, this modeling, enables really sophisticated scenario simulation.
The what-if analysis.
Exactly. It lets planners test responses to potential disruptions before they ever happen. You can preemptively see, okay, what happens if my copper delivery is delayed by 4 days?
Or if that key machine for cutting costume patterns breaks down for 8 hours.
Precisely. The APS allows you to resequence production almost instantly based on those simulations to minimize the overall impact.
You know, our sources even offered a great metaphor for one system, Planet Together APS.
Oh, yeah.
They described it as the lantern that guides manufacturers through the fog.
That's a good one.
It really captures that idea of taking all those complex intersecting variables, machine capacity, labor constraints, regulatory needs, material availability, and just synchronizing them precisely.
Synchronizing them to meet that highly volatile demand schedule, like for Halloween. Yeah, that synchronization and simulation capability, it's just non-negotiable today.
It sounds like the magic bullet, honestly. But you mentioned a data point earlier. If only 1 in 10 companies have fully implemented APS.
Yeah, that data point cited in recent reports is pretty stark.
So is the barrier just awareness? Or is the complexity and maybe the integration cost just too high for most, say, small to mid-sized manufacturers, the SMEs?
That's a really critical question, and the data definitely highlights a massive opportunity gap, or maybe an adoption gap. Look, the initial investment in integration, it's real, no doubt about it, but you have to weigh that against the ongoing cost of flying blind.
Cost of those lost orders, the high zombie inventory carrying cost, the constant firefighting due to phantom delays.
Exactly. Over the long term, that cost far outweighs the APS implementation investment for most companies. The reality is the vast majority of manufacturers are still relying on pretty outdated tools, maybe just spreadsheets and their ERP, leaving themselves wide open to these seasonal shocks and, frankly, year-round inefficiency.
And looking even further ahead, beyond just getting current APS implemented,
Hmm.
the next frontier seems to be AI adoption, right?
Clearly, AI integration promises to take that synchronization and scenario planning to, well, a whole other level
How so?
by optimizing scheduling dynamically. So instead of planners maybe manually running 4 or 5 what-if scenarios a day,
Okay.
AI could constantly adjust and suggest optimal production pathways in real time as new data like a shipment delay or a machine status update hits the system,
Further mitigating risk and boosting efficiency even more.
massively improving overall efficiency, yeah.
Okay, so pulling this all together, what does this mean for you, the listener, focused on supply chain management?
Well, I think it means the standard operating procedure has fundamentally changed, or at least it needs to.
Yeah, you absolutely must move beyond just reactive crisis management, chasing ghosts and burying zombies towards proactive digitalized planning.
Because those structural weaknesses exposed by the high-pressure Halloween demand, they're the exact same ones that are quietly bleeding profitability all year long.
Right. The ability to truly see constraints, to synchronize resources effectively, and to simulate disruption responses.
It's no longer just a nice-to-have or a strategic advantage for the big players. It's becoming the fundamental requirement for operational survival, really, in 2025 and beyond.
Right, okay, so to wrap up our deep dive today, let's offer 3 practical, maybe spooky season-inspired planning tips based on the solutions we've discussed, designed to help protect you from these horrors of disruption.
All right, let's hear them.
Prioritize scenario simulation. Use tools like APS to do this. This lets you preempt those phantom delays we talked about by testing the real-world impact of, say, a late copper shipment or a key machine failure before it ever hits your final delivery schedule.
Good one. Proactive defense.
If you're not already using advanced planning and scheduling systems, or maybe you're underutilizing the one you have, investigate or expand its use. This will drastically improve your visibility and production synchronization. Don't be one of the 9 out of 10 companies lagging behind here.
Get that lantern out of the box and light it. Exactly. And finally, number 3, actively pursue dual sourcing, especially for your critical components. This is your best non-technological hedge. It helps mitigate that severe risk posed by ghost suppliers and builds crucial structural resilience against geopolitical or regulatory volatility. Excellent takeaways. Build resilience strategically and technologically. Now, while we've focused a lot today on the devastating consequences of shortages, delays, and dead stock, that same fundamental lack of visibility and control, it also feeds another really monstrous operational flaw.
Oh, do tell.
What is it? Well, think about the hidden costs associated with chronic overproduction and all the material waste it generates.
Ah, interesting. The flip side of shortages.
Exactly. That's something for you, the listener, to maybe mull over. Managing those inefficiencies, that waste, is a challenge just as complex, maybe even sneakier than handling demand spikes.
A challenge for another time, perhaps. Maybe next time we tackle the werewolf of waste. Thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive.